All right, so today we're going to be talking about a phrase in the industry called buying a listing. What does it mean? Why are agents using this tactic? And how it can impact you as a seller and ultimately cost you big money and time when it comes to selling your property here in town. Folks, my name's Jim Murray. I am the owner of sellingOCNJ.com, your go-to source when it comes to selling or buying here in Ocean City and the surrounding area. I always like to start off by saying if there's anything I can do to help anyone out that's looking to enter or exit this market, please reach out to me directly. I promise I will respond to any questions or any comments. And most importantly, if there's a property that you want my opinion on, I'd love to give it to you if it's something that you're thinking about selling. So diving right into it, what does buying a listing mean? The shortest definition of that is basically agents are using the practice of over-promising to potential sellers what the sale price of their home could be. So for example, let's just pretend that you take a property and the most recent comp that sold was $1 million, all right? You have agents in this town right now that are coming in and saying, well, I know the most recent comp was $1 million, but why don't we put it out there at 1.2? I really believe in your property. I know there's other agents that are telling you that you need to be at $1 million or slightly below $1 million, but the reality is I'm a believer, I'm enthusiastic, and I'm going to get you more money. Well, listen, the seller goes, man, the one agent's kind of, showing me data and explaining to me how they're going to market the property and explaining to me why my property's only worth X. The other agent is explaining to me how much they believe in the property and how they truly believe it's worth more than what the most recent comp says. And unfortunately, what that does is that sets two different tones. It tricks the seller in believing that the agent that's giving them a higher value is somehow going to produce a better, higher result. And that in some way they must believe in the property more if they think this right out of the gate. And here's the reality of it. It's actually quite the opposite. If you're a seller and you really need to capitalize on this investment and you want to exit the market here fall of 2024, there is nothing that's more important right now than pricing a property correctly out of the gate. And here's my reasoning. We are up against, let's take a step back. We have about 6 weeks to 8 weeks max. We're up against an election, and then we're going to fall right into the holidays. And historically, those two things have a tendency for buyers and sellers to put their feet in concrete and hit pause. So if you're asking my advice, and you're looking to exit this market during this fall, my strategy would be is I would look for the most recent comp over the last 6 months. And in fact, I would probably argue for this particular scenario, I don't know that I would want to go out past 3 months. And my reasoning is the market has really shifted over the last 3 to 4 months. Demand basically fell off of a cliff. We went from 2.5 months of inventory to almost 5 months of inventory. And not because we had a surplus of listings, but because demand basically fell off. And so taking all of those circumstances in consideration, I feel like you have to target a number that motivates buyers to come off of the sideline and buy your property and carry it all the way through the wintertime and into the summer. Now, look, that doesn't mean that people don't want to be here in the fall, but just the pool of people that are willing to buy something and carry it when you can't really rent it, you can't really do much with it, that pool just shrinks. It's that simple. So the technique, though, that especially in this current market, and it happened to me personally about a week or two ago, the technique is basically buying a listing by over-promising results. Once the seller signs on the dotted line, they're stuck. And that agent has the ability to basically check them down slowly but surely for the next 6 months. And here's how that conversation would go. Instead of taking the approach like I would take by pricing the current market conditions in, pricing in what the next 3 months may look like, the agents, the conversation they have is, well, hey, sorry, John. Unfortunately, it kind of looks like the market shifted a little bit. Demand has kind of dropped. We should probably do a price reduction. Well, hold on. I thought you said that, my property was going to grab X amount of dollars. Well, yeah, but that was before X, Y, and Z happened. Or, hey, man, it's people are really hitting pause with this election. I really think that we should try to drop the price. Like once they have you under contract with the listing agreement, you're stuck. And that's what sellers don't realize. They go, well, hey man, this guy just believes in the property. No, he doesn't. He's doing you a disservice. And the reality of it is, if you ask me, that's a weak agent. And the reason is it's a lot easier to have a conversation with a seller that says, when you take the carrot and you dangle it and you say, hey, man, I think your place is worth 250 grand more than the comps suggest. It's a lot easier than that. That conversation's a lot easier than saying, hey, listen, I know we just came out of, the last 1, 2, 3 years where you could name your price, name your terms. But if you're asking my professional opinion, I feel like we have to be competitive. And what that newest, highest comp was within the last 6 months, I feel like we should be a pinch below that. We want to show value. That's a hard conversation to have. But I just can't stress to sellers enough. A lot of people go, well, what's the big deal? We try a big number. We want to make sure that we don't leave any money on the table. Well, if you're up against the holidays, an election, and you have a 6 to 8 week window, by choosing to price your property incorrectly out of the gate, you could be shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to selling your property at all, at least for the time of that listing. You could be shooting yourself in the foot. And here's why. A lot of people go, well, man, why isn't this property selling? They almost look right past the price. They understand and they're not interested in it because of how expensive it is, but they look right past the price and they start going, man, what's wrong with this? And then all of a sudden you have 2 or 3 other properties that are comparable that are significantly less. They pop up and they start going, well, wow, these now look like values compared to that guy. So what it's going to cost you ultimately is time. And you're going to find yourself chasing the market down rather than the market chasing you. And if there's anything that you take from this, okay, if you're in that situation, because once again, it just affected me personally. I had a scenario, not to kind of shift gears here. I had a situation where based on the comps, I had given a recommendation of $950,000 for a property. I took a comp from 6 months ago, which I kind of felt like was a stretch once again, since the market had shifted. The other agent promised them $350,000 more. $350,000 more than the most recent comp for the same exact property in the same condition that's the same age. Well, of course, who do you think they went with? They were attracted to the price. They were attracted to the idea that this agent must just believe more in the property. I was just going off of data. I was going off information. And listen, that's going to be attracted to some sellers. It's not going to be attracted to others. It's a hard conversation to have. So, but my advice, back to the number one thing that I would take out of this is simple. If your agent, okay, if you have 2 agents, and one of them's kind of saying, look, I think we need to kind of take a different approach here, and the other one is promising you a pie in the sky number, I would give you one tip. If they're that confident in that listing, right? If they're that confident in that number for your listing, give them 45 days and say to them, hey, if you're that confident, we'll give you 45 days. But we want to be clear. If we don't sell, we're going to go do business with the other guy that gave us a different number. Because it's the only protection as a seller that you'll have in the event that you are stuck in a situation like this. Otherwise, you are going to get drugged down the road with one price adjustment after another. So, folks, once again, reach out if there's anything I can do. Keep an eye out for the next video. And if you enjoy this content, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. Thanks so much.